I think they're handling it terribly. The whole league knows that Baker's not going to be on the roster, so they've killed his trade market. They did this out of order. If they wanted to be able to get a real return for Baker, they should have moved him or had a deal in place to move him before they got Deshaun Watson. But I also just think this is really poor form. And, Coach, I want to use you, not use you, but I want to give you an analogy. See if you can follow me here with it. If imagine you're single, out of work, really struggling, down and out, and been down and out for the better part of, a couple decades. Then you meet somebody, and they clean you up, and you're doing the best you've done in your entire adult life. And then you're like, you know what? I can do better than her, and you leave her. I think it'd be poor form to then haggle in divorce court over who gets the sofa and who gets the recliner. Probably be like, okay, you know what? You helped me out a lot. Nobody was interested in me. Now a lot of people are. Let me go ahead and wish you the best. And that's what I feel like the Browns are doing. The Browns were out they had won one game in 2 years. Then Baker gets there, raises them to the level of respectability to where Deshaun Watson wants to play for them. And now they won't let Baker go live his best life because they want to be able to get a conditional 5th-round pick. I think it's poor form. I don't like it, and I don't think it's the way you should treat people. So that's my answer. I think they're handling it very poorly.
Well, that's a nice metaphor analogy. I'm not sure which category it falls into, but I don't think it's accurate at all. Simile, okay, that could work too. It's one of those situations where you're equating everything that the Browns have done in terms of their success to Baker, and I don't think that's true. I think there's two running backs. That would argue that they've had a pretty significant impact on the success and failure of the organization over the past few years. And look, we can kill the Browns for the order that they did these transactions in, but they didn't think they were going to get Deshaun. They were in on it, then they were out of it, and then suddenly it worked again. So Baker was going to be the insurance policy, and that's their right when you draft someone number 1 overall, and when you draft someone in the first round and you guarantee their 5th year of their contract, you have the right to explore situations, and that's what they did, and it worked out. Now they're just going to have to deal with the fact that there's not much of a market for Baker with his contract and the fact that he's on a 1-year deal.
Thank you, Coach, for bringing some rationale, some logic to this discussion, because Nick is acting like Baker Mayfield, walked in there like Josh Allen and just totally turned everything around. We have a graphic showing how great Baker Mayfield has been. Can we see this graphic showing? Look, this is since he entered the league. He's 34th in completion percentage, Nick. Nick, fun fact, there's only 32 teams in the league, okay? Passing yard is 23rd, TD to interception ratio 28th, and passer rating 29th. Is that your king? Is this your king, Nick Wright? Come on, man.
He is the king of Browns quarterbacks.
He had one great season in 4 years as a starter, and you're giving him all the credit. How about Andrew Berry, the GM? How about Kevin Stefanski, the head coach? How about, as Coach mentioned, the running game of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward? There's a lot of guys. Baker couldn't make it work with 2 really good receivers in OBJ and Jarvis Landry. So Landry, who won it out, now they want back reportedly. So no, they owe Baker Mayfield his salary and to treat him with respect. Now it's unfortunate that it leaked that they were going to see Deshaun, but that's today's news coverage. All right, so I think they are treating him with respect. It's not their fault it leaked, but they are trying to get a trade for him. That's their right. And if it doesn't happen, then they'll release him.
Okay. I expect him to be released. I expect this to be very similar to what happened to Odell, where you go through a little pouting phase, you go through a negotiation phase, and then you end up getting released. And Odell was able to hook up with the Rams, a great team, and eventually win a Super Bowl ring. So, Coach, my question to you is this. Is that on the board for Baker? that rather to be traded to the Lions, where people are like, you should go to the Lions. And I love Dan Campbell, but I think it's the first time ever the Lions have been viewed as an upgrade and like a better opportunity to go to Detroit. Can that work for Baker, where if he gets released, do you think he needs to sign with a team right away? Or can he just like lay back and wait for something to happen, wait for a good opportunity to open? Last year, Fitzmagic got hurt week 1. Tyrod Taylor lasted, I think, 2 weeks. Jameis was out. And remember, Saints were looking for a quarterback. That's what Cam did last year. Cam was just waiting, eventually got to start in Carolina. Is that on the board for Baker, that he should wait for an opportunity, or should he immediately jump at something right away?
Well, that would be a best case scenario for him. If he gets released, he's going to have to go through waivers so he could be picked up by anybody. But if he gets released and becomes a free agent, he's got his $18.5 million guaranteed by Cleveland, no matter what. So that's fine. His salary is not going to change. And typically what happens is you get into the spring and you go through OTAs and training camp and someone gets hurt. And quarterback situations look dramatically different than they do right now. Ideally, if the Browns could hold on to him for an extended period of time, his trade value would go back up. But it's at the lowest right now because the chairs have kind of stopped, and you've got the opportunity in the draft to go get a young quarterback. But once that dust settles, having a quarterback is real value moving into the spring and summer months.
Also, this idea that it is just pure coincidence that the Browns had won one game in their 34 games, one win in their 34 games before Baker Mayfield stepped onto the field. And then the rest of that year they played 500. The next year they were a 6-win team, and the next year they made the playoffs. It's because of the running game. And they've had good running backs in Cleveland the last 30 years. They had a Hall of Fame left tackle in Cleveland. They've had good defensive players. It is not coincidence that the Browns were woebegone, moribund, 3-13, 1-15, 0-16 were the 3 years before they drafted Baker. And now they're to a place where going into this year, Brew and I both picked them to go to the AFC Championship game, knowing who their quarterback was.
What?
And they were looking fine until Baker got hurt.
Bad.
Okay, well, listen, apologies that we got the AFC Championship game pick wrong, but quarterback got hurt. So they didn't have bad losses before Baker got hurt, and he wasn't playing poorly before they got hurt. It's a ridiculous thing, in my opinion, to act like he was just a passenger on this amazingly run franchise, this amazingly stewarded ship. He dealt with 4 head coaches, 4 offensive coordinators for a team that had no relevance whatsoever.
Right.
And now we're like, oh, thank God he had Nick Chubb.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.